My name is Peter Lugten. In this presentation, I will explain how the world outside of us is incorporated inside our heads as knowledge, how this is an active process that improves upon the truth, and why this distinction is important. It isn't hard to do. It is possible to imagine that all the world could live as one, but our human nature seems ill-suited to the cooperative husbandry of the global ecology that we have overrun. It has been shaped by self-perpetuating ideas which have captivated the way of thinking of our early ancestors and persist as memes to this day. David Deutsch has taken Richard Dawkins' memes and divided them into regressive and progressive species, lamenting the domination of regressive memes which maintain the cultural status quo within tribal units. They have dominated the human intellect for thousands of years, a struggle which continues today. I intend to expose the most basic memes of all, our mistaken notions of truth and falsehood, by exploring their relationship to the means whereby we perceive, sense, gather, and test knowledge about the world. This process I call active subjectivism, and it can be used to navigate between the worlds 1, 2, and 3 of Sir Karl Popper. Worlds 1 and 2, what can we say about the objective and subjective states? First, divide the world into two separate coexisting realms. World 1 is the universe as if no intelligent life had ever existed, containing the stars, planets, mountains, rocks, rivers, and oceans in their objective state. World 2 evolved billions of years later, as life evolved to that very pinnacle represented by philosophy professors, sentient beings able to perceive, analyze, and understand World 1 so as to guide behavior. A stone, or that stone rolling down a hill, exists in World 1, whether perceived or not, in its objective state. When perceived, it also exists in the observer's subjective state, both as an object or, when rolling, as an event. Cogito ergo sum claims that we exist subjectively. It also implies, as a statement designed to be communicated to others, that we exist objectively in World 1. Active subjectivism allows us to benefit from the different powers that we, as objects, are able to obtain from a simultaneous existence in two mutually exclusive states. How do you derive your concepts of falsehood from the differential between objective and subjective states? Objects in their objective states may have been perceived, becoming known, or not, remaining unknown. This is a distinction based on a property which is not possessed by the object itself. In the course of being experienced, the object or event becomes subjectivized or transferred to the subjective state, while still remaining in the objective state. The subjective state is the culmination of active biological processes, both conscious and unconscious, requiring sensory organs and nervous integration, which for each species of animal is an inborn characteristic. Because the experience involves an element of an illusion, including the attribution of being known, we can derive a definition of essential falsehood, the experience of any quality or concept which lacks an objective existence. It is that which is incorporated by the information processing infrastructure of our sense organs to become integrated into our perception. It includes qualia of perception, such as the color, taste, smell, and also noise, as well as emotional sensations associated with them, or moods, aspirations, sentiments, and affections. These constitute the aspect of our experience we call introspection. What is active subjectivism, and how does it relate to representational inexactitude? Well, does World 1 match our experience of it? Actually, the answer is not exactly or absolutely not. In other words, representational inexactitude or representational uncoupling. Active subjectivism is a special case of representational inexactitude, whereby our subjective knowledge improves on the objective world by highlighting the information gathered that is of particular importance with optimal speed and efficiency. For instance, a paper by Lugten and others showed that a frog will lash its tongue out at any black dot crossing its visual field, an important adaptation for an animal that eats live flies without any other qualia of the fly being experienced. It would not help humans to perceive flies in this way, especially, as the paper concluded, the frogs will starve to death surrounded by food if the food is not moving. Instead, our sensations have evolved to be hypersensitive to threats to our own survival, as well as opportunities for food and reproductive success. Consider Alice and Betty Australopithecine confronted by a shrubbery. The neutral subjectivism of Alice examines each leaf carefully and pauses to examine an orange glint reflecting the sunshine. Betty's active subjectivism, without even depicting the eye of a lurking tiger, urges her to run. Clearly, Betty is more likely than Alice to become our distant ancestor. Her life is saved by incorporating a greater degree of essential falsehood into her subjective perception relative to Alice, and thus by her ignorance of the complete truth about the shrubbery. What are the alternatives to representational inexactitude? Well, in contrast to representational inexactitude, if we take the extreme position of representational uncoupling, we'd say that all of our experience is false, even that the objective world doesn't exist. Famously, this was the argument of Bishop George Berkeley, who held that our subjective experience of the world was revealed to us by God. Accepting this would require accepting on faith that other people in the world really exist outside your personal revelation, and is indistinguishable from a state of solipsism. However, acceptance of representational inexactitude is a matter of faith, not logical proof. The role of logic is to show that there is no representational exactitude, and that any philosophy striving for representational exactitude will exhibit internal inconsistency, incompletion, and ultimately representational uncoupling, despite initial concession of an equivalent degree of faith. Where do ideas fit into this discussion of objects and events? Objects and events need to be distinguished from ideas. Objects and events are related in that happenings can only occur to objects, and objects comprise temporary assemblies of smaller objects that just happen to be conjoined at the time. This category of events is thus contrasted to that of ideas, which includes all relationships, theories, thoughts, inferences, and extrapolations between them. The categories of events and ideas are mutually exclusive and may be both objective and subjective. The objective event we've already considered, the object and its happenings in World 1. The subjective event is our experience of it, known with a certainty corresponding to the trustworthiness of our senses. Ideas extend from, and in so doing, relate one event to another. In the objective state, it is the relation between cause and effect. They are the physical laws governing interactions. In the subjective state, ideas link events in a process of understanding whereby their meaning is transformed into knowledge experienced as thoughts. The content or intent of thoughts is formed by our expectations or experience. They are expressed in the meaning of statements drawn from them, formed according to inborn rules of syntax and grammar, influenced by upbringing. These meaningful, well-formed sentences, when expressed to others, rejoin World 1 to become objective knowledge, a special blend of objective and subjective that Sir Karl Popper designates as World 3. We talked about essential falsehood, but how does that differ from lying? Well, the intersubjective ideas of objective knowledge, while containing essential falsehood, may also be deliberately misleading, as in lies or fake news. Essential falsehood cannot be avoided. We cannot know by what extent it misleads us, and it is a matter of faith that it acts on World 1 to our advantage. Lies are superessentially false, to an extent defined by the degree they contradict experience if known, or which may do so in the future in retrospect if unknown. These falsehoods, uncoupled from reality, are biologically disadvantageous to the extent that they mimic essential falsehoods. We can tell them apart if we believe that matter behaves consistently respective of experience. We develop an expectation about a claim concerning World 1 and test it against experience. To the extent that the experience differs from the expectation, the expectational idea is superessentially false. This constitutes a disproof of the idea. Other superessentially false ideas, not yet disproven, can be regarded as unknown false. So, what is your concept of truth? In philosophical and common usage, truth is a property of subjective beliefs, never objective things. Truth is factual and genuine correspondence with reality, which with connotations of completeness and internal self-consistency, the correspondence theory of truth. As demonstrated, it has problems with its description of subjectivism, together with the unrealistic expectation that true knowledge can be complete and self-consistent. I propose that a better theory of truth, maintaining completeness and self-consistency, should use the word truth to refer only to the objective state of World 1, the Inversion Theory. It would also include introspective statements like I am happy, which are arguably descriptors of our body states as objects. These differ from statements of revealed truth, such as I know God exists, insofar as revealed truth is meant to be an assertion about the external world. Yes, one can truly know one's belief in God is profound introspectively without any truth being revealed about World 1. What we have subjectively is knowledge of World 1, essentially and perhaps superessentially false, but never true. In the case of certain categories of knowledge, scientific claims, we can reduce superessential false knowledge by means of a program Sir Karl Popper described as falsification. The theories are tested, and if erroneous, remedied or supplanted, and tested all over again. Theories that make useful predictions that survive falsification are the best knowledge available. They join metaphysical ideas, basically memes that can't be tested, and introspective knowledge in the intellectual landscape of Popper's World 3, consisting of speech, records, and constructions that are shared intersubjectively with others and posterity. Popper's criterion of demarcation distinguishes between metaphysics and science based on whether the memes involved make falsifiable predictions. In the former, certain ideas are considered true, and certain authorities are considered absolute, without any means to prove them false or bogus, and these memes tend to be regressive. The survival of civilization depends on a final ascendancy of the progressive means of science and best knowledge, replacing the philosophy of subjective truth. Of course, you may say, I'm a dreamer, but regressive means can be defeated with a word, imagine.